Hey, welcome to World Entertainment. Anyone remember that James Gunn announced that Swamp Thing was going to be in the DCU as a movie? No, it's okay because he's been so focused on everything else that this one kind of slipped away. Does anyone remember that James Mangold was attached to direct said movie? No, that's also okay because I completely forgot that myself. However, James Mangold has now come out to speak about Swamp Thing and has given what he plans to do with it and what he envisions it as. The weird thing is he says something in this which is the exact same thing he said about his Star Wars movie. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. It sounds weird. I still don't particularly see this movie actually happening the way things are going, and this one would probably be so far down the line that I just think it's not going to take off at all. And I definitely don't think James Mangold is going to stay. Remember, I think Mangold was attached to it before Indiana Jones came out, and then of course that's the weird thing. James Gunn's hiring all these guys whose movies are coming out and being these colossal bombs, so we'll wait and see if they actually stick around. But it says anyway, filmmaker James Mangold has tackled many genres, whether it's biopics like Ford vs. Ferrari and his latest film, A Different Man, or action blockbusters like Logan and Indiana Jones, as well as a Star Wars movie exploring the origin of the Jedi set 25,000 years in the past, which he says there's no lore to be handcuffed by and stuff like that, except it turns out his movie idea, including the working title of Dawn of the Jedi, is a book in the expanded universe set exactly 25,000 years ago. Isn't that interesting? So Mangold has been tapped by DC Studios to take the helm of Swamp Thing. The character has starred in a short-lived TV series, but this would mark the big screen debut for a character who fits well into the latter part of James Gunn's Gods and Monsters slate. Don't know why they think that's the case, because we haven't seen anything really to say you'd work perfectly. As for that short-lived TV series, it was one season. I think you can watch it on Amazon. That's where I watched it the first time. It was actually a really good series. It sucks it didn't get a second one, because it also kind of ends almost on a cliffhanger. So talking to MovieWeb, Mangold addressed how he plans to address the DCU movie. And this is what he said. With Bob Dylan, you have known quantities, yes, but there are ways to interpret them. With other kinds of IP, it gets to a religious level. Swamp Thing at DC, it's just a matter of, get this is the part, that's the exact same thing he says about the Star Wars movie, word for word. Do we find a way on the page to say something original? Do you want to know how he phrased it in his thing about Star Wars? He said, to me, the really important aspects are the freedom to make something new. Bo Williamson and I, in relation to Star Wars, have been working on a script and we'll see what happens. Do we find a way on the page to say something original? That's what he said about the Star Wars one. And he just said the exact same thing about Swamp Thing. It's almost like he's reading off a script, isn't it? But he continued saying, while I'm sure DC views Swamp Thing as a franchise, I would be viewing it as a very simple, clean, gothic horror movie about this man/monster. Just doing my own thing with this, just a standalone. And then it says it sounds similar to Clayface, that they just wanted to be a standalone. So he's saying there the tone for it is to be this gothic horror, which could work really well. He's also saying, at least for him, because it can't be a standalone if it's going to be a part of the DCU, but he's going to make it as a standalone, which obviously could very much change depending what way the DCU is working out by the time we get to the Swamp Thing, if we ever get to Swamp Thing, or if it ever actually happens. Is he wants to do a standalone, James Gunn could walk in and say, you can't do it as a standalone, we want you to add in half of the creature commandos into it as well. That could be where Mangold walks away, because if he was saying, oh no, I just want to do a simple, small, gothic horror movie about this creature and whatnot, and have it be a standalone, be its own thing. It's not bogged down or tied to all this other stuff for this movie, the first one to go. If they turn around and go, no, you need to add this in and that in, he could just go, no. Now, saying a gothic horror movie, that's an interesting take, especially when it's Swamp Thing, because he lives in, you've guessed it, a swamp. So how exactly do you put a gothic feel on a swamp? If I were them, I would just look at that original series and go, we could do that before a movie, and it would work really well if they did that. Even get the same people involved who did that series. I can't quite remember the reasoning behind why they cancelled the series, whether it was too much or they felt there wasn't enough views for it or something. I can't quite remember what the excuse they gave was, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it, actually. So if you could do something like that, it could work. Mangold, though, being a part of it. Look, the dude has done good movies. Obviously, he has. Dial of Destiny was not one of them. I'm sure a Star Wars movie will not be one of them. But what we've seen when he adds himself to these big IPs is he can't handle the pressure, because as soon as somebody says something that he doesn't like, he goes on tirades on Twitter for 24 hours. If he's already saying this type of IP, it's almost like a religion. That's already him saying, I'm not going to be able to deal with the fans' expectations and stuff. That's essentially what that is saying. He already said it about the Star Wars. Oh, I'm glad I don't have to do all the lore and stuff because you're never going to please anybody. Now he's saying it gets to a religious level with big IPs. And it's like, you're already trying to cover your own ass by saying, if people don't like it, we did what we had to try and do and you just wouldn't accept it. So he's already kind of starting to take shots again. But the idea of it being this gothic horror movie and a standalone works. Don't know if he's the right guy for it. Doubt it'll actually end up being able to be a standalone, because James Gunn just seems to be filling everything so far. Like, it's just, oh, stick this character in there and that character and that character. And that could spell problems for the likes of Swamp Thing. But God only knows at this stage. We'll wait and see. So, with that, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.